The next thing we're going to talk about, we've done our sprite shapes, we're going to just talk about using sprites, just straight up sprites into your scene. So I'm going to basically create what I've been creating so far, but I'm going to do it all as just regular sprites as opposed to a shape. So I'm going to actually open up all these floors that I made. I'm going to put them all together on one mesh. Okay, I'm going to create a new one here. Create a 1024 by 1024. I'm going to take all these floors that I've made here and I'm going to put them all into my project. I'm going to snap them all onto my grid. Now I have these floors in here. I could create some other ones that I think would be very useful. So the nice thing about drawing all these things together, let me get my navigator. So I can create some other interesting shapes in here. So I can go through and let me see here. Let's get my. I'm going to create change the background here so I can actually see what's snow. A new layer. I'm going to create some other fun shapes here. So I'm going to create maybe like an edge piece. And then maybe like a wall. My wall will probably just be blue because. Oh, okay, so I'm going to create a blue wall here. I can decide what I want my blue wall to be. I'm going to create that like filler object as well in here. So now I'll show you a couple different things you can do. First, we'll just do this one, and I'll kind of talk about how this works. So I'm going to save this texture here. Okay. Okay, we're going to bring that into Unity. So we have our sprite atlas. So by default, if you bring that in, it's just one big old mesh. Not very helpful. But I can go into my import settings in the inspector when I have this selected, and I can change the sprite mode from single to multiple. And then I can open that up. Pixels per unit, let's do 64. And then I'll hit apply, and then I'll open up my sprite editor. And now I can split my sprites up manually, however I see fit. Now you could do an auto slice by grid cell, right? It'll kind of do its best. I don't think this one will. This one kind of slices based on negative space. I didn't leave any negative space in mine, so it's not going to do a very good job doing that. But I can create some custom shapes. So I can create. Trim. I can create meshes. Is this snap on? So as you can see, this is very hard to try and understand where my meshes are. If I did them by like just 64 by 64, like old school stuff, it would be a lot easier to know how to split this up. But this is kind of a pain in the butt. I don't want to deal with this. So what I'm going to do, I'm going to go back into my file here, and I am going to split these up with some spacing. Of course, I think I painted them all in one layer, but that's fine. It's much easier to do that in Photoshop than it is. First off, let's hide my other stuff, and I'm going to just quickly split this up into sections here. Okay, so now that I have my sections, I'm going to just move them around so they're not right beside each other. So let's take these guys and let's just put a couple pixels in between them all. So now I have spaces in between all my meshes. So I'm going to go and I'm going to save this as again. I'm going to save it as my atlas. Bring it in here, hit OK. I'm going to go back into my sprite editor. And as I open it, now you'll see this is here. And if I go to slice and I go to automatic, I can hit slice and it will break up all my meshes into individual little sprites because I have space in between them. It knows how to do that. And I can go through here and adjust them all if I really wanted to, but I'm good. I'm going to hit apply. Now the cool thing here is now once you've done that, when you open up this Sprite Atlas, there's a little arrow beside it. You'll have all your different sprites in here, and they're all just called Sprite Atlas A through 0 through 5, which is not very great. I can go through here and name them what I want. So, platform A, B, platform edge, left, edge, right, small, oops, form filler. This one will be called wall. Now, much easier to know what I'm doing. And I can bring these in, and I have all my individual sprites on here, which is great. My filler, oops, not again, my right, and my wall. And now I can start assembling a level. I can go through here, and I can start piecing these guys together. You can do the mesh thing where you hold V and it'll pick a corner, and you can snap them together like that, which is great. Now, the nice thing about working on a big atlas like this, and this is how I would usually start blocking my stuff out in my project. So I'll take the paint overs and I would just start doing like really crappy little versions like this of all my work, because it'll show me what I need, right? So now I'm like, okay, well, I have this and I don't have any floors, so let's make some floors, right? Well, I guess I do have floors. Silly. Right, so now I have a floor here, and I can move this up here. Right, and you're like, you know what, that doesn't look really good. I have this like snow that just kind of intersects the wall. It's not really great. Maybe I want like a smoother transition, right? So I could go into here, and I can make myself something that will fit on that. So I can go in and create something that would work for my, oh God, what did I click? I clicked some crazy button. I can maybe create like a hill. I don't even know if I like this yet. Right, and then I can go in and No one there. Right, something like that. I don't know if I like it. We'll take a look. And then I could go back in here, save. Now, here's the tricky part. I've added things to my atlas, all right? So it is not included in my atlas now. If I go to Sprite Editor, it does not include this new mesh. All right, now if I go to Slice, there is a method section here. And the first one's called delete existing, which means it'll remake all your sprites for you, which is not a horrible thing, but it'll delete all the naming and stuff for you. So if you're already working on stuff, you don't want to do that. In here, you could do smart or safe, and either one is usually fine. And I could go slice, and it'll add a new one, and it'll keep the naming of my other ones intact. So now I can use this, call it platform, ramp or something like that. Hey. And now I've added to that sprite sheet without ruining all my level designs, which is very nice. So then I could go through here, and I could go use my ramp, and I can put my ramp in somewhere. And you're like, oh yeah, you know what? This doesn't work either. This is kind of stupid because I made it with the blue and the snow, and that looks kind of dumb, right? I didn't really think my way through here. So now I have to try and think about, okay, well, how would I make this look? Would it just be a big pile of snow? Would that look okay? Would it look okay kind of butting up in here? So let's go back into Photoshop and think about what we can do with this thing. So perhaps I'm going to make this whole thing white. And maybe I will make it so snow kind of does this little thing here. Delete this part. Okay, I'm going to save this as, and we're going to work. This is just the iterative process that we talk about in our class in art. This is why it's really important to block stuff out and white box out your art, because you want to know if your stuff works before committing to making a tremendous amount of art. So now I've made this round little thing, but now when I move it over here, it's going behind my filler because I've added it after. So what I'm going to need to do, all right, that doesn't work. All right, is this set on transform? It's to the front. Where are you here? Game object. Oh shoot, now I forgot where this is. There's a way to say bring it up to the front. What is this? Well, I don't remember where this option is, but there is a way to say which how it sorts over top of things. Mode, simple. Oh, there we go. Layer and order. Jeez, I didn't see that there. You could up the layer and order. By default, everything's 0, but if you want to stack things on top of themselves, you can do that in here. So now we can go through, and I can make this like little ice piece, and it's a much nicer transition from what I had before. So you can kind of make these little assets that you can then place on top and think about how they connect and what problems are they gonna solve. And I could do that for a lot of other things. I can go in and make myself a sheet of icicles, let's say. I'm going to just add them onto here just to save some space. I'm not going to bother putting them in a whole new thing. Maybe I'll just start them up here. So maybe I'll have, you know, some icicles. Icicle. Bam. Okay. Save that as Sprite Atlas. And every time I do have to go into my sprite editor, slice it up. Icicle. There we go. And now I have my icicle, so I can bring that in here, and I can start placing it on top of my mesh, right? If you have any sorting issues, and that way I could start hiding kind of any repeats or issues that I'm having, and have a lot of fun with how this works. You know, I can hang it over edges, and have a good time there. So I would still go through and create ceiling pieces, different wall pieces, perhaps transitions, how that changes from side to side, and go through with that. But this is generally the way 2D workflow works. If you look at the way Ori and the Blind Forest worked and all that, this is, you know, what they would bring in. They would bring in sprite atlases if they're doing 2D stuff, and so forth. You can do this in a 3D environment as well. You can paint all your stuff on one texture and in 3D Max cut it all out. It's actually very performance friendly that way if you keep things all on one texture. But that's our general way of working with sprites, bringing them in, editing them up a little bit, placing them, changing the sort order, and whatnot. So hopefully that helps if you're planning on doing 2D stuff. And if you have any questions, let me know if there's anything specific.